Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens Screenwriting Step by Step, episode number 29, in which we go step by step as I write a pilot script for a TV show in order to show you a way to do it, my way to do it, the way I'm doing it. Not to say it's the only way, but just to try and demystify the long, grinding, ridiculously complicated process by which people write scripts. What we're doing here is I come every weekday between 3 and 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am here to show you how I am writing this script and also to be available for questions. Ask me anything. If for some reason you are not able to do that live, you can still ask a question. You can do that by going to writingforscreens.com, my website, where there is a little contact me button on the bottom of pretty much every page, and you can ask a question there, or you can just do it right here on YouTube in the comments. You write a comment there, I see it. Ask a question, I'll answer it as best I can when I can. Cool. It's been a weekend of work for me, so I have got a bunch of things to talk to you about and show you that I've been working on this project. And so, without further ado, let's do this. I'm sorry. The first thing that I was thinking about was that is spread. Okay. I was thinking about the basic premise of this series is that there's a group of amateur online crime fighters who are working together in a crowdsourcing kind of way, and then this event happens which brings them together in a physical and actual sense. That was the basic premise. And the problem with that is that it means that your characters are not in the same place at the same time. It's hard to make scenes. And I cannot emphasize enough how much you need to think in scenes. You need to think in terms of actions that people are taking in relationship to each other. And that's really hard to do if the people are not in the same place at the same time. And yet we do that now. In this world of electronic communications, we do that all the time. We send each other emails, we text each other, we call each other, we Zoom each other. And so I wanted to deal with that reality and the sense that there is a connectedness, that there is a relationship, even though the people are in this online group. That was the original intention. But what that means is that especially in this first meeting, they're all over the place. And having one scene where you introduce a bunch of characters is really hard. It's really hard to do that, even if if you think back on the things where work where you've seen a scene where you meet like 5 or 6 main characters or a couple of central characters and a couple of supporting characters. Those scenes are a lot of fun because it's boom, 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 lots of people, lots of things going on. But at the same time, kind of hard to tell what's important and what's not. And you usually get like a little gimmicky bit for each person. That's certainly doable on Zoom. Zoom does tend to flatten things out. It makes it hard to make one thing more important than the others. Everything is equally sized and shaped. But the other thing about those scenes is that they jam in an awful lot at once. And one of the ways that we understand character is to watch them act and develop over time. Truthfully, even if this wasn't spread out over a lot of places, introducing a whole group at the same time is tough. And that made me think that maybe I shouldn't bring them all together in the pilot. That maybe what I should do is enjoy the fact that they're all broken up, that they're only going to get to talk to each other in bits and pieces, to really make that the core of the storytelling. One of the things I think it's really good advice to do is, if there's something built into your script, if it's two people in one cabin stuck in the snow for the 2 hours, or if it's two people, that never meet, whatever that is, whatever that essential quality is, make it your thing, make it fun, make it the most interesting thing. Try to make your story what it is, and jump into that with both feet. So the fact that I've got this group of people who we're going to get to know over time, that's something I've got to not try and get past quickly. I don't want to just show you everyone at once and then hope that you know them and that it's all solved. Oh, new visitor. Hello, Kirby Light says, "Hey, great channel." I agree. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's great that you are here watching and that we are working together. I'm working and showing you how I work. Anyway, the point is, in the pilot, we don't need to necessarily get all the characters in at once. We can drop a couple of them in and then have them really develop in later episodes. Which brings me to a major theme of this episode, so to speak, which is over this weekend. This is a Monday that I'm recording this. And over the weekend, I did a lot of work on the project, and it made me realize how frustrating it is to write a pilot script. Because when you're writing a pilot script, you're only writing the beginning of a story. And that is just a huge pain in the ass, because stories are defined by the ways that things are revealed and the ways that things twist and turn and the ways that they end. Those are as important, or frankly more important, than how they begin. One of the big things about show business, about entertainment industry writing advice, especially the people who work in the business who aren't writers, they all love the setup. They all love to talk about the first act, the premise, the hook. That's what, if you ever hear a producer or agent or anybody pitch you an idea, they always pitch you the first act. They always pitch you the setup. Oh, there's this, in this case, there's this group of online people and they accidentally stir up a serial killer and he comes after them. Ooh, cool. Possibilities are endless. I need to write this down somewhere. Possibilities are endless is the worst thing a writer can hear. Possibilities are endless is like, okay, yeah, now I don't know what to write. Real writing is limiting the possibilities, is saying what's so cool is this particular character is going to have this particular reveal in the third act. And what's frustrating about a pilot is I can't do that. I can't write that. I can say this character, who are only getting a couple of lines, is going to become really interesting in episode 4. If you look at just any good show, that is often the case. You get people who are, like just recently, Mayor of Easttown introduces some characters, and they don't get really interesting until episode 6 and 7. If all you got to write was the pilot of that show, it would hurt. Anyway, so just to stop complaining and start talking. So the point is, in this first sequence where we meet everyone, I believe we need to break it up into a bunch of scenes, break it up into a whole lot of beats, and not try and get it all in at once. So I'm just going to put that note in here. Where I say Zoom reporting to the team and meet the team. Okay, so I'm just making this a note to myself, so I'm going to put it as a note. There you go. So that is what I do. I write these notes to myself. It's just a long conversation with myself, and then when I get something that's useful, I try and grab it, copy it, and paste it, and put it into a working document, a place where things matter. This is the place where I just blather to myself. I also came just to a logic. It's just a small logic point, but it's important. I've had the way we meet Xena is that she's coming in and she's asking for the files because that's her goal. Her goal is to take over the podcast, and to do that, she needs George's evidence. So, but the thing is, we've now changed the story a bit in that the house is being locked up by the police, or the shed the garage is being locked up by the police for evidence. It's sealed, which means Madeline can't give her the evidence. She can't give her those files. The police need them. So I realized that if Xena were to ask, hey, can I come get George's files? Madeline would say, I know, the police have got them. They're sealed. Now, what I decided to do was separate out the stuff. I said, Xena knows that George had a secret office. He's paranoid. He's nuts. He has built a bunker-like basement office that's only reachable by a trap door, which is hidden. So therefore, Xena, who's known George, knows about this, but the police and Madeline do not yet. So Xena wants to get into the house and get into that office. So that is what she's asking for. So this little hunk of insight also goes into the outline. I think I may have already put this in. Yeah. Okay. Have I done that? Yeah. Yeah, Xena knows that he has. Okay, so that's done. I did a lot of work trying to clean up the outline and the overview because they're sprawling right now. They're just sprawling along. And so that was just a little note that occurred to me quite a few days ago now, Saturday. So then I got on to the question of the killer, of Deacons. And I started to think, okay, this is the character who we have not developed a lot, and he's really important. He's like a main player. He's not the actual villain, but he's a villain. We have this layering of villains. Here's a question. How many people are in the core crime group? You mean this group? At the moment, we only we have 5 or 6. I haven't really decided. I've got 3 or 4. Well, we know we have the meth dealer. We know we have Xena. Those are the only 2, and Norman. So there's 3 that we have definitely put in. I think there's at least 3 more, probably like a lot of other minor players. Maybe there's 10 to 12 total. And that'll be interesting to see is how many are in the group and how many are on the Zoom. But the answer is, at the moment, there's only 3 real characters who have developed from that group, but there will at least be 3 to 4 more. Okay, so this serial killer, the threat, the villain, the monster who is after them during the whole story. I began to think, who is he? He's a serial killer, so in many ways he's an archetype. He's a cliche. We all know what serial killers are like. They kill people in a series. They love to do it. They love to show off about it. And so I thought, but what is the reality of that? Because one of our big themes is we're hunting serial killers. And I was like, why would people as a hobby hunt serial killers? And I believe one of the main reasons we have to get to is they hunt them because they don't think they're going to catch them. Okay. Brief question that I think is a good question to answer right now. When you're writing a pilot, aside from breaks for commercials, is there a concrete type structure to pilots? And the answer is no. There is no single type of pilot format. Because for one thing, commercials only exist in broadcast TV. There are no commercials on streaming shows. Basic cable has some commercials. It depends on which channel and how they do it. So the answer is you need to figure out which type of show you're trying to do and then structure like they do. If you're doing a streaming show, if you're doing an hour-long streaming show, watch a bunch of them, take the pilots apart, make an outline of the pilot, figure out the structure that you think works for you. But there is no actual standard official format for a pilot. Back to the serial killer, back to Deacons, Elmore Deacons. One of the things I thought is he's doing this in a way that gets attention, right? He's using a distinctive poison. That means he wants people to know he's doing it. He wants them to be able to say, hey, this person here and that person there were both killed with the same weapon, i.e. serial killer. So the question is, why? What is it about him that he wants? What is his motive, his personality, his objective, or his compulsion? What's driving him? And then I just threw down questions to myself. He's got to have a nickname. All serial killers have nicknames. Some of them give it to themselves. Son of Sam kind of gave it to himself. I mean, in his rambling long letter, he did. Zodiac named himself, but a lot of killers are named by the FBI or the police. In this case, because I believe the only way he is, the only way that he is identifying himself is through the poison, because he's smart and he knows the more that you give, the more they can catch you. So I believe the police came up with the nickname, which means, I'm answering my own question here. Yeah, I believe the signature, his name comes from his poison. So therefore, the police nickname is the chemical formula name for the poison. He made up this thing himself. He's done the chemistry himself. He has created something that's just like H2O is hydrogen, two hydrogens and an oxygen. He's got like an M5SE or something, H1N1. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know chemistry, but I know that that's what his nickname is going to be. And that brought up the question of research, because in order to do something like this, you have to do some research. You have to learn enough about chemistry or enough about serial killers or poisons to be able to fake some knowledge of it. You don't need to be able to design your own poison. In fact, you should not do that. But the thing about research, don't wait for it. It can be useful. It can be great. It can be very helpful, but do not spend your time becoming an expert in poisons before you write your story. For one thing, you're very likely to research things that you will not be able to get in. Obviously, it's great. You're smart. It gives you great texture to the story. But I find most people who do this later discover that they have spent 4/5 of their writing time researching. It would be better to spend 4/5 of your writing time writing and research as you go along or after. Make stuff up. The other reason for this is, and this is important, they're going to change it. You're going to be amazed if you get lucky enough to have a professional production, how much they don't use of your brilliant, careful thinking and writing. They will change it for the dumbest reasons. Sometimes for good reasons. They'll say, look, the legal department says if you are lucky enough or smart enough to come up with some genius way to kill people, the legal department is going to say, we can't put that in a movie. I once wrote a movie called Mad Money, and it's about robbing the Federal Reserve Bank. And I did some research on how the Federal Reserve Bank works. But one of the things I needed to do was not worry too much about it, because if I was able to figure out a way to rob the Federal Reserve Bank, I would not be allowed to put that in a movie. As it happens, I didn't. I was using a story from a British TV show. But anyway, The point is, don't get too hung up on research. The important thing is that you make up something that's plausible, that you can fill in some research later. You'd be amazed how much gets done once you're in production. So anyway, don't wait for your research. Come up with a concept that is logical to the story and see. Just keep moving on as a writer, not as an expert in chemistry and poisoning. Okay, that gets us to the motive. Why does he do this? What is he trying to get by doing this? And of course, the other thing is, especially with murderers, but with most of us, there's the thing we think we're doing, and there's the thing that anyone looking at us from outside thinks we're doing. And those are not always the same thing. You know, just think about all the times in your life that you have watched someone do something and they've said, I'm going to do this because it's going to make the world a great place. And you're thinking, you're going to do this because you want to be famous. In that case, by the way, similar to this. Clearly, he wants to get away with it. But, you know, because he's working very hard not to get caught. But at the same time, he wants to make sure they know he's getting away with it. Okay? That just if you analyze his actions, you can understand his character. And that's a really basic part to writing characters is if you've already made certain decisions, if you've got characters who have, for whatever reason, some already decided thing, they're going to sacrifice their life at the end, or they're married, or whatever it is, then you know something about it. You know something, their character is partly defined already. And you would be a fool not to use that. Use what you have. Don't try and make up another thing. Work with what you've got. What we have got here is we know that this person kills in a way that is noticeable. It is a distinctive signature poison, but at the same time, he's very, very careful to have random victims who can't be traced to him so that he wants to get away with it, but make sure they know he wants to get away with it, which brings up the theme of attention. I get to this, I put this down later. I began to notice a sort of running, as you build up a story, things sort of come to light. You say, you know, they're all doing this. They're all doing this thing. George, Xena, the killer, and even Norman, all their main concern is attention, is what people are thinking of them, of what people know of them, of what they are being known for. So I have to deal with the fact that that's clearly a major theme of this story. I didn't intend it to be when I started. I just thought, oh, this is a funny premise. But now I'm realizing that at least part of this story is about how we want attention, how people want attention. And the question is, why? What do we want attention for? To feel important, to feel different, to get some, is it to get money? Means to money or power. Anyway, that I will get to that in a bit because I'm still working on this serial killer. But one of the things that happens is you start to look for, oh, I'm writing about this thing. I didn't intend to, but I am. And now I have to take that seriously. So this brought the question up. There's sort of two kinds of serial killer, because there are certain serial killers who they discover, and they're doing this more and more now because of DNA evidence. They're catching people who worked as serial killers, worked as serial killers, like it's a great job. They worked for decades sometimes, and killed a lot of people, and they often kill people who are on the fringes of society or won't be noticed if they're gone, or they moved around a lot, and so they weren't, the killings weren't connected, especially until recently. There wasn't a lot of communication and coordination among police officers, so if you keep moving, you could get away with it. the point is, those people, they wanted to kill more than they wanted to be known as killers. Then you get somebody like BTK who like sends notes like, "Hey, look at me! I'm a serial killer." Obviously, there's something murderous in all serial killers, but there's also clearly two very, very distinctive kinds. And what is this guy? What is his motive? Once again, I'm trying to understand the character from what I know about him already. I know that he's a serial killer, and I know that he's good at it. In fact, he stopped and never got caught. This also raises the question: he's murdering strangers. How does he pick them out? I haven't figured that out yet, but I want you to see the process of my writing notes. Is as I think of things, write them down, get them on the page so that later on you can figure this out. I'm just going to put that in the outline before I forget it. Meet the serial killer. Okay. Here. So I'm just going to put that in as a question. I put my questions in pink. I make them stand out in the outline so that as I am working, I can look at that and say, this outline is not ready to turn into a script because I have this pink stuff that has not been answered yet. Okay. But we still get to the question of he wants attention, but he also wants to get away with it. And this gets to the whole question of what am I saying by having this character? It's very easy. It's very easy when you're writing to latch on to a cliche, especially a genre cliche. You know, the person trying to take over the world in a sci-fi movie. You know, the serial killer, the compulsive lover in a romantic comedy who can't settle down. Whatever it is, we tend to glom onto those because they're easy and they're fun, and you can work with the genre expectations. But it's also a really easy way to not think. It's a real way to not spend your time asking the most important question, which is, what is this really about? What am I saying when I tell this story? And when somebody leaves this story, what are they going to take away? Other than serial killers are fun to catch, which is not what I feel this is a good story about. This can't just be about, you know, ooh, boogeyman, bad guy, ooh, we catch him, cool. So I think one of the things I got to is no matter how much there's a game element to a serial killer, you know, I'm trying to be smarter than the cops. You can't catch me. And by the way, very often serial killers actually are leaving clues because they do actually want to get caught. There's a part of them that is horrified by what they're doing or feels compelled and is actually almost being in conflict with themselves about it. There's the very famous killer who wrote, I believe, on a mirror at one of his crime scenes, "Stop me before I kill again." Don't know which one that was, but I'm sure the internet can tell us. Anyway, no matter how much there is the cleverness of serial killers, there's also an emotion. They're doing a terrible thing. They are murdering someone. And in movies, it's very easy to not take that too seriously. We get rather inured to murder in movies and TV. It's a plot device. One of the things I would like in this story is to not have it be quite so easy to take. So one of the things I thought about is, you know, why? What is he doing? What does this feel like to him? And then I ask a whole bunch of questions, as I do in my notes. I try on different answers. is he this? Is he that? Would he do this? Would he do that? One of the big things I came to when I'm thinking about murderers is it's the ultimate in disconnection. It's the ultimate in lack of connection with other people. You don't care enough about them to keep them alive. You don't care that they are feeling pain or that others will feel pain. There is in the act of murder a terrible disrespect of other people. And I wanted to make sure that this contains that this puts that in the audience's face. And so therefore, I thought it's really important that we don't care about him by the end, that we don't think he's justified in some way. Very often in good murder stories, you get some sympathy for the killer. And I kind of think I don't want that here. So I'm going to put that into the outline. It is important that murder not be fun and a plot device in this story, in this show. Let's make this. Loathing and revulsion for the act of murder, which is helped by the glee which the hunters feel before they get too close. Delight. Revulse. That's spelled wrong. No. Okay. What I'm trying to say here is, which means this character has to become sympathetic and then lose our sympathy. This is really, really important. I'm going to make it bigger. Just, I think it's really important that there be a shape to this character, because it's so easy in serial killer stories to have either the relentless monster who's boo scary, or to have the person who becomes sort of a hero, the hero serial killer. And I want us to think we're getting that and then to have it snatched away. I want this story to turn at an important point and show us that it is not a great thing to take pleasure in the murder of other people. To show the audience that it is not okay to take pleasure and entertainment in the murder of people. Dangerous. It's dangerous to do this because we're doing it. We are entertaining people with a murder story, and yet I want at a certain point to say, that's bad. Am I risking insulting the audience? Sure. Am I risking being hypocritical? Sure. But it's a worthwhile ambition to me. Personally, I like to give myself a challenge. I like to give myself a feeling of worth in what I'm writing. And to me, I think this will be cool if I can get this to bring up the question of why we find murder entertaining in a murder entertainment. Dangerous. Reason why we find murder entertaining in a murder entertainment. All I can say is if I do it right, it's what makes this good. If I do it wrong, oh well. Okay, so then I got to that theme. And so all of this raised the question of the sociopath. A sociopath is technically a person who has no empathy for other human beings, has no ability to feel others' feelings or to care about other people. This is a scientific category. There's books about it. There's a whole book about the test called the sociopath test, which brings me to what happened today. Actually, I was going to the dentist to get my teeth cleaned, and I was listening to This American Life podcast. And This American Life years ago did an episode about the sociopath test, and they rebroadcast it. So I happened to hear it this morning, and it raised this issue of the concept of the sociopath. I'm re-listening to it. I haven't finished the episode yet, but it immediately brought up the concept of a type of person who is unable to connect with other human beings and therefore is potentially dangerous. There's a lot to unpack in that, and one of the things I just felt very strongly about when I heard that definition of sociopath is I don't want that to be our character. I don't want to suggest that this may or may not be true. It may be true that there are sociopaths. I believe that there are, but I don't want my character to be one in this case, because I don't want to have a sense that there is impossible to change and that this person is different, that this person is inhuman, because there are too many other types of people who are built differently, born different, who I don't want there to get the sense of like a normal category and those outside of it. We're getting into some kind of heady stuff here. We're getting into sort of big theme questions, but that's important when you're writing. Now and then you have to make the crucial decisions of what this is about. It can be just, this is about having some real kicks with sword fights and lasers and spaceships, or it can be about, I need to delve into how authoritarian societies destroy the soul. In this particular case, we're dealing with murder entertainment, and therefore I need to really interrogate myself about it and say, what is it that I want to have something come out of this thinking. And therefore, today's work is about making some basic decisions to say, this is not about sociopaths. I do not want this to be about the idea that there are some bad guys who are different than us, who are therefore killable. They're ostracizable. They're bad. That may turn. I'm not even saying socially whether or not this is true or not. I'm saying for this story, I don't want to do that. Which means there's kind of two ways that evil is defined in movies lately. There's this person is just bad. They're born bad. They are somehow evil, and therefore we can make them the antagonist and do whatever we need to do, and it's just a question of how hard it is to kill them. Or they're made, which means they are a person like you and me, but bad things happen to them, and their way of coping with it was to become this destructive force. That is the type of person I want our character to be, not because I want to say, oh, poor guy, it's okay, he's a serial killer because he had a hard childhood. No, what I want to say is, first of all, we are all alike, and we all have within us the potential for all sorts of good and bad, but also that people change, that you are not branded by the way your brain is built to be one way or another. This is a super good question. Are you trying to define what it's about for the pilot or the whole show? absolutely write the whole show. You can't really write the pilot if you don't know what it's a pilot for. You are making choices. You are establishing certain things, saying it's about this and it's not about this, or it's about this and it is taking this take on it. Like there's a million cop shows. So the question is, what makes this one different? There's a million family comedies. What makes this one different? And when you, in the pilot, that's what you're declaring. A pilot declares the genre and the particular take of the show, of the series as a whole. So therefore, I am currently trying to figure out where I stand on the serial killerness of this story. Because this is a thriller about non-police who find themselves having to stop a serial killer. That's the genre. And my take on it is that it's a little funny, but it's also serious. And the other thing that I had talked about earlier in the overview somewhere, let's see if I can find it. All the way at the top is, I believe, yes, this is a cascade of fumbles. That is the other thing that I want to sort of get into my head here. That's what the overview is for, is to remember those things. So I'm going to take this stuff here and I'm going to put it into the overview. And so that's as far as I got with that big theme stuff. And then I got to another question because I was looking at the overview and I got to this character, Elmore Deacons, and I wrote a retired serial killer. And then I thought, retired? Well, why did he stop? And what has he been doing since? Because retired serial killer, that's an interesting, that's something you don't see a lot of. That's something makes this show different. So the question became, why did he stop serial killing and what has he been doing? And I thought about that for a while, and then I realized the cool thing would be he didn't. He didn't stop. He stopped killing that particular way because he was going to get caught if he kept doing that. So that tells me a lot about the character. As you can see in my notes here, I wrote, When I write, it usually means I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So yeah, I copied this into the character already. The point is, at a certain moment in his killing career, he realized if he kept this up, he was going to get caught, and he did not want to get caught. He wanted, the fame was not as important as getting to keep killing people. And I realized that is a reveal. That is going to be a wonderful moment somewhere late in the story. Remember I had said earlier that the idea here is that, I think it's in the outline. Yes. Okay, he has to become sympathetic and then lose our sympathy. All right. The way that that's going to happen is he's going to talk to them like a person. He's going to be saying, hey, I got framed. We're sort of weirdly in this together. And then just when we're starting to feel like he's one of us, when he's part of the team, he's going to seem to be equally caught in this terrible situation with our main characters. He too has been unfairly pulled into this by George's murderer. Okay, so I'm going to... Okay, and then we learn he he's still killing. That's the thing. Somewhere maybe around somewhere around the midpoint, maybe a little later, we're going to discover that he never stopped killing. He just stopped poisoning. And therefore, our sense of him as a partner is going to be hard. The floor is going to drop out from under us because we're going to think, oh, crap, this guy, I'm talking to this guy and he's nice and reasonable. So, like he's Hannibal Lecter or something. And so I sort of admire his cleverness. Oh, crap, he's still murdering people. He's evil. That's going to be a good moment. That's central to the series as a whole. And once I know that, I can go into the pilot knowing that the point of the serial killer in the pilot is to establish a guy who has been unfairly dragged into the light. So let's get that in there. Let's get that into our outline. When we meet the killer. Okay, that's here. It's towards the end. The killer is going to call. Okay. In the pilot, we need to get to a place where we unexpectedly feel, gosh, this intelligent, reasonable, retired killer has been unfairly dragged back into the spotlight by George's murderer. Yeah. Okay, and that is where we get to our understanding of the killer. I feel like at this point, I have started this episode. It's a long one, but I wanted to show you the process by which I'm trying to create characters, because you don't create them just from the outside, like, oh, I need them to do this, or oh, this is their type. You also need to work into what their meaning is and what their feelings are, what it's like for them and what the others feel about it, and what the audience is getting out of them. It's a very complicated thing to create a character. You're not just making little clay figures. They're going to take actions and they're going to have feelings. This is what makes writing special, is that you are actually creating human lives. And so that was why I took extra time to talk about this particular character's development as a story piece of a pilot. Matthew points out people are complex. Evil people can do good things too. Yes, that is exactly what we will be getting at, is that in the pilot, when we meet him, we are going to be saying, gosh, this intelligent, reasonable, that an evil person, or a person who used to do evil things, he's retired, he's stopped. So we're going to have sympathy for him, which of course will set us up for a later frightening disappointment. You're always going between themes and insights and plot twists and how cool they will be and what that will do to the audience's experience of the show as a whole. It's a complicated business. Indeed, people are contradictory in their behavior. They are not random in their behavior, but they are complex, and you don't just get one quality in any human being. Okay, I believe, since it's almost an hour now, I am going to call it a day. I am going to say thank you. I'm going to say so long for now. Tomorrow, which will, for those of you who are actually watching these in order stuff, we're going to take a day off from this and do an Ask Me Anything day. And then actually tomorrow I'm off. Wednesday is the Ask Me Anything day. I will be seeing you then. Until then, go write something.